Imagine a world where chronic pain treatment and mental health conditions are not just managed, but truly transformed. Well, there is a company that is making this vision a total reality with revolutionary treatments that are changing lives. And today, my guest is a super active guest, Fraser Johnston, CEO and co-founder of EntheoTech. Fraser, can you introduce yourself and tell us about the company?
Beautiful. Yeah, thank you so much for having me on, Carmen. So, EntheoTech specializes in the treatment of chronic pain and mental health. I think two of the most pressing challenges in society today. So we have kind of two parts to the business. So on the chronic pain side, we focus on some innovative pain treatments like PRP and prolotherapy and arthrosamid. And then on the mental health side, what we specialize in is psychedelic-assisted therapy. So we have created our own brand and protocols and methodology we call Odyssey Therapeutic Experiences.
Can you expand a little bit on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So with psychedelics, these are kind of breakthrough treatments for a whole load of mental health conditions. So anything from depression, anxiety, PTSD, burnout, OCD, postpartum depression. We've seen a whole host of kind of different indications at the clinic. So one thing with the psychedelic experience is, in that non-ordinary state of consciousness, we can have very profound insights and kind of downloads and reframe our perspective of maybe traumatic events that have happened to us. And it puts our brain in this really neuroplastic state. So that can help us create new thoughts and behavior patterns and change our everyday life. So one thing we see is the preparation and the integration are so important for that psychedelic experience. So with the preparation, we have psychedelically trained therapists that work with our clients. So really helping them set an intention for treatment and really helping them with some tips and tricks for the actual experience itself. And then the big key is how we're integrating that experience. So they'll meet with a therapist after their psychedelic session. So that therapist will help them process, insights and emotions that came up. If they had a challenging experience, a beautiful experience, and then really how we can harness some of the golden nuggets from that psychedelic experience and then integrate it into their everyday waking life.
That's amazing. And can you tell me, how did that idea come to your mind? How did it come to life?
So really for me, it's been my own journey with chronic pain and mental health. So when I was younger, I was trying to play pro rugby and I ended up with 3 major shoulder surgeries by the age of 21. So for me, it was really, I was left kind of in chronic pain and depressed when my life path had changed. And when I was in my early 20s, I had some very profound psychedelic experiences that really shifted the relationship I had with myself and my body. And then going through my 20s, I saw friends and family members that had struggled with mental health. And I'd said, what about a psychedelic session? And they were just kind of like, huh? Like, what are you talking about? How's this going to help me? So I just realized how much kind of stigma and misunderstanding there was around psychedelics due to the war on drugs. So with some education and support, ended up trip sitting for them and they had these transformational experiences. So that's what really showed me like, okay, there's something here and these molecules aren't what people think they are. So for me, it was really seeing the legalization of cannabis in Canada here to say, okay, psychedelics are the next wave here and it is the future of healthcare. So how can we do this in a medical clinical model where there is support and supervision from qualified professionals? So we're really creating a safe container that can allow this to come into mainstream healthcare.
That's amazing. So, if I understand well, so I assume people start coming to you because they have some sort of chronic pain, or do they come for both sides because they have some mental health issues, or how do they find you? Like which
So
way?
yeah, great question, Carmen. So, that's one of the key focuses for us on the chronic pain and mental health side. So we do have people who'll come just on the mental health side and just on the chronic pain side. However, 60% of people who have chronic pain have a comorbid mental health condition. So a lot of the time, if you are living with chronic pain, it affects your quality of life, it affects your mood. So what we're actually seeing there is a lot of our pain clients will actually end up becoming Odyssey clients. And really what we're seeing is if they're doing these kind of innovative pain treatments in conjunction with the psychedelic therapy, they're having this synergistic benefit and really having, we call it a disease modifying approach. So really completely shifting that relationship they're having with their pain and their mental health.
Okay. So you mentioned Odyssey. If I understand correctly, Odyssey is the part that treats the mental health. Is that right?
Yeah, you got it.
And then how does that work? Like, say that I come to you and I say, okay, I have some sort of depression. Like, I go right into therapy. Like, it's like an app, or how does that work? Can you explain?
Yeah, so great question. So what I can do is I'll just give you kind of a whole overview of our treatment process. So every client we work with, we actually have a referral in from their family physician, psychiatrist, or a nurse practitioner. So that's kind of first step to treatment. So once we receive that referral, we actually do what we call is our Odyssey intake. So every client we do a screening with, so we do a mental health consult and a physical consult. So in the mental health consult, we really look at, what that client has tried before, what's worked, what hasn't worked, whether it's been antidepressants, therapy, even sometimes things like electroconvulsion therapy. And then in the physical consult, our doctors will do a full medication review just to make sure there's no contraindications there. We'll do everything from blood pressure, etc., just to make sure they are safe and suitable for treatment. So once we get the okay from the physician, that's where they'll actually enter the treatment protocol. So on the app side you mentioned, we have Odyssey Online. So this is our client portal. So it gives educational resources from our therapy and our medical team. And then the big key for us is teaching those other mindfulness modalities. So things like breath work, meditation, yoga, somatic techniques. So I always say, give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day. Teach a man how to fish, he'll eat for life. So how can we use the psychedelic experience as a catalyst? But then also, how are we teaching these other modalities that help them regulate their nervous system in everyday waking life? So they get lifetime access to that app, and they have their preparation therapy, as I mentioned, and then their experience in clinic, and then their integration therapy too.
And usually the timing that they go to the clinic, how long is usually the treatment?
So a client is usually in and out of our clinic in around 2.5 hours. So the actual intramuscular ketamine experience is around an hour to an hour and a half. So that's actually one of the big benefits of intramuscular ketamine compared to classical psychedelics like, psilocybin or ayahuasca is, that psilocybin or ayahuasca sessions anywhere from 4 to 6, 7 hours, whereas the ketamine is that kind of shorter duration, it's an hour and it still is a profound experience.
That's amazing. So, what would you say that is the main difference between the treatment that you are offering to the regular treatments if I go to a regular hospital or a regular clinic? Because definitely it's a totally different offering that you have, is different technology.
So yeah, great question. So I think traditionally, when you look at mental health care, most people are just prescribed an antidepressant that they'll take daily and hopefully feel better. Or you'll see them in therapy, sometimes for years with no meaningful progress. On the more severe side, you might see clients go to the hospital for electroconvulsion therapy. So kind of old school where they'll put the client under an anesthetic and then, electrocute the brain to try and create that different stimulation. So for us, what we're seeing, I think where it becomes really unique is the non-ordinary state of consciousness. So with these psychedelic molecules, they do induce that non-ordinary state of consciousness, where you might end up having visions or that inward journey. And it's in that non-ordinary state where you can completely gain a new perspective, look at things in your life from a different viewpoint, and really have that kind of fresh insight and download on maybe some of your traumas, your thinking patterns. And that's one of even the things for me in my own experience with them is you can end up in this kind of ruminating thought loop. And I think that's the thing with even traditional therapy is when you're staying in your kind of conscious frontal mind, you're
Mhm.
still kind of processing with logic. So when that default mode network turns off with the psychedelic experience, it really opens up a whole new perspective to allow you to process things in a different way.
That's amazing. And because it's so innovative, um, what is the reaction to patients when you still first explain them how that works and how different it is to traditional treatments? What's the first reaction?
I think fear and excitement, I think, is kind of two of the most common ones. So, a lot of our clients do have treatment resistant depression, treatment resistant anxiety, or severe PTSD. So, they have tried a whole host of traditional treatments and they're literally just at the end of their line. This is kind of a last ditch thing for them where they've potentially said, I'm scared or nervous about drugs, quote unquote. Everyone has had education in school from police officers, drugs are bad. And, there's drugs that hurt and there's drugs that heal. And a lot of it is about the context that we're taking those molecules in. So I think just with some education and support and really showing the client that they are in a safe medical clinical setting, to allow them to process that trauma or whatever is going on in their life, we can kind of reduce a lot of that fear and anxiety about the unknown, because a big thing with these psychedelic experiences is actually letting go of control and surrendering to the medicine and the experience that will come up. So education and support is great there. And then it's just excitement, I think, to see, okay, can this actually make a difference with my mental health challenge?
That's amazing. How do you feel also like the new technologies that AI is coming? Like, are you being able to implement some of the new stuff in your practice or not yet?
Yeah, for sure. We're always trying to stay ahead of the technology curve, which is hard. But yeah, like you say, AI has been great for us. So a big thing for us, especially because this is a new and innovative treatment, data collection is a huge part of this. So we actually collect data before treatment, after treatment, and then 30, 60, and 90 days following. So one of the real things we're starting to use AI for is analyzing and visualizing that data. So a big thing for us is really, insurance and benefits coverage, and then actually doctors' education. So we can help increase the referral network for these treatments. So that kind of data visualization and using AI to show how profound these treatments can be is a big win for us, especially on the education side.
So you actually are working with doctors for the referrals. It's not that patient
100%.
can just come to you.
Yeah, 100%. So I think that's the interesting thing, it being 2025 and, social media, the internet, lots more clients are now doing their own research and going to their physician and saying, hey, like, I want to try this. Whereas, more of the traditional route is where, if you go and see your GP, you've been in an antidepressant. So actually educating that GP to say, hey, you know what? There's actually this new treatment called Odyssey, and I think you're a great candidate for it. We should send the referral in. So there's almost this kind of push and pull of educating the client so they can go to their own GP, but then also educating the GP so that they can educate the client too.
Hmm, that's great. So right now, what is working best for you and what has been frustrating, you think?
So I think what's working best for us is just the constant iteration and refinement of the treatment protocol and the client experience. So, that's the one thing for us is essentially right now we're in a kind of private healthcare environment. So really, how are we providing that high-end client experience to really make sure that we're driving consistent patient results? One of the frustrating things for us is kind of the thing with private healthcare right now is most Canadians are used to healthcare being covered. So whether it's through MSP or insurance and benefits. So for us, because this is a new treatment, there's been very limited insurance and benefits coverage. So we actually had our 3-year anniversary of treating patients in April this year. So for the first 2 years, there was no coverage available at all through insurance and benefit providers. But what we're seeing now is clients are getting anywhere from $200 to $800 covered off the treatment, depending on their benefit plan and who they're with. So
Oh,
seeing
that's
a big
amazing.
push in coverage there, which is nice. But then unfortunately for us, there's no kind of coverage from, MSP billing or provincial health right now. So hopefully that will be coming online in the future, because that is the frustrating part is a lot of people who really need this treatment, because their mental health's been affected, they maybe haven't been able to work. So they can't afford this treatment privately right now. So that's the big push for us is just how are we expanding access to patient care?
Is there anything that can be done for you to work with the government
We're
to
trying. So yeah, that's the big thing for us is just the data collection. And then it's showing how, kind of this innovative treatment compares to standard treatments like SSRIs or antidepressants. So that's the big thing for us is showing the benefit of the treatment, but then also the cost savings too. So there's actually just a study coming out from a company here in Canada called Roots to Thrive. So it's a nonprofit that does ketamine therapy for, veterans, firefighters, first responders. And they're actually showing that, with an average of 3 ketamine treatments, we're actually saving the system $30,000. And so lots of times they'd be paying for therapy, antidepressants, things like that. But because ketamine can be such a profound treatment when it's done in the right set and setting, we're actually saving the healthcare system a lot of money. So I think as more of these studies start to come out that just show the cost saving of this and how beneficial the treatment is, that's what's really going to shift the coverage element.
but also on the other side of the patient, like when you are desperate, at that point you don't care, you just pay, right? That's amazing.
100%.
So,
Yeah.
what's your vision for? I don't know. What do you think you are going to be in 5 years?
Hmm. So yeah, I would love to see psychedelics openly talked about in mainstream healthcare. I think there is still a lot of stigma around it. Even a lot of our clients aren't willing to do a testimonial because they want to remain confidential. They're like, oh, I don't want my work or my
Mhm.
family knowing I'm doing this. So I think the big thing for me is, yeah, just widely accepted psychedelics. And I think that's done in this medical clinical model. Um, and for us, like really a big part of what we're doing right now is just scaling the Odyssey brand and methodology. So we're collaborating with already established pain clinics. So we are actually licensing our brand and methodology to these existing clinics. We provide training for the doctor and the nurse of that clinic. And then we're actually taking care of all the billing, admin intake, skilled psychedelic therapy, and providing the patient app. So essentially, we maintain that brand consistency and patient experience and just using the partner clinic as a new treatment location. So yeah, I would love to see every city in Canada and major city in the US have an Odyssey partner clinic.
So that's in terms of Odyssey. What about the chronic pain?
Yeah, beautiful question. So on the chronic pain side too. So yeah, at our flagship clinic, as I mentioned, we focus on those innovative pain treatments. So that's one of the things we're focused on the partnership as well, is even some of our innovative lidocaine infusions we do is training these partner clinics on some of the treatments we've developed to our clinic too. And really just seeing how we can expand that chronic pain and mental health care across the country.
So for chronic pain, like what type of pain is that? Like, would you be working with a physical therapist? What type of clinics would you be with?
Great question. So I think the key term, Carmen, is multidisciplinary. So yes, so someone might be used to going to see, a chiro. They'll go to a completely different physiotherapist. They'll be seeing, someone in the hospital for another treatment. So the thing we focus at our flagship clinic is how can we provide all of those services under one roof. So on the chronic pain side, a lot of the innovative treatments are actually, we call them ultrasound guided injections. So that's where we'll be doing things like PRP, so plate rich plasma. So that's where we'll take your blood and we'll spin it in a centrifugal machine, and it separates the red blood cells, the white blood cells, and the stem cells. And we can take the stem cells and inject them back into you. So it really helps regrow tendons, ligaments, tissue, helps heal injured areas. So a lot of the clients we see, it could be sports injuries, osteoarthritis, back pain, things like that. And then within that system, once they're getting that innovative, injectable therapy, then how we have the chiro in there, the physiotherapist as well. So we can create that ecosystem where someone can have a one-stop shop.
That's amazing. I can imagine that is more easy to get like testimonials from customers, right? Because yeah,
100% for
yeah,
sure. Yeah,
yeah.
a lot less stigma around the chronic pain treatments for sure.
And how about that? Is the government more open to pay for that?
You got it. So this is the interesting thing. So the chronic pain side is almost all public funded or insurance and benefits. So a lot of the chronic pain treatments you will be able to bill MSP, which is our kind of provincial billing system, and then lots of insurance and benefits coverage. They have full coverage for these treatments too.
Oh, that's great. So going back a little bit, in to the company, what specifically is your role uh, in EntheoTech? Because I know that
So
you have several partners, but what is your role specifically?
So CEO and co-founder. So for me, really, it's a lot on the operations side and the sales and marketing side. So the big thing, I've really been focused on is developing that Odyssey brand. So really, how can we make Odyssey the premier brand for this form of therapy in Canada and hopefully the US as well? So yeah, work closely with the medical team as well to help just develop those processes and protocols. And I think the big thing I focus on as well is really the client experience side. So because I don't have a traditional medical background, I've done lots of private healthcare in Canada and US. So really helping the medical team understand that because on the Odyssey side we are private healthcare is, from the moment the first touch point we have with that client to the moment they walk through the door, how are we creating that high-end spa-like experience?
Okay, so I already heard your plan for the next 5 years. So in the next 12 months, what would be that plan?
So beautiful. I love it. So really for us, the big focus is our Odyssey Partner Program right now. So the goal for us is to have 5 to 7 Odyssey partners in the next 12 months, and really be in the major cities in Canada here. So we have 3 of our partner clinics signed. So just going through the training process there. So hopefully having the first 1 or 2 open by the end of this year too.
What about the US?
Mhm. So the interesting thing for us is, the US, the laws vary state by state. So much easier for us right now in Canada, just as we understand the regulations here. So my business partner always says, nail it before you scale it. So really for us right now is focusing Canada and getting a couple of those partners under our belt so we can actually have case study data, so that when we go into the US, we can definitely pick the first state we want to go in where they have those suitable laws and regulations, and then we'll work our way through there.
I would be curious for you to try New Jersey. Yeah, my husband he has a clinic of physical therapy, so I'm sure that his patients will be thrilled to try it as well.
Hmm. Yeah, I'll put it on my list for sure.
Yeah. So, what do you think that is the one thing that could be slowing you down to achieve that plan in the next 12 months?
So I think for us, it's definitely the private healthcare environment and lack of coverage for these. And then I think the big thing too is just the stigma that surrounds these treatments, from, the 60s and the war on drugs. People just associate psychedelics with, the big crazy hippie movement, or man, I'm just tripping out. So I think that's the key for us is really, reducing this stigma through education and testimonials to show, hey, the average person can do these and benefit from them. It's not this thing that has to be locked away and not talked about. And I think that's just the thing is even mental health right now, there is such a stigma around it too. It's definitely starting to shift. But even people admitting, hey, I'm struggling with depression or anxiety, it's still almost taboo. So it is shifting quickly. So I just hope to see the stigma fall by the wayside and we can start to openly talk about these experiences for sure.
Well, that's an amazing journey. Thank you so
Mm.
much for sharing it.
Oh,
Is there
my pleasure, Carmen. Every day is a learning day.
is there anything else that you would like to share with us?
Ooh, so the interesting thing is, I'd recommend everyone to read How to Change Your Mind by Michael Pollan. So, very cool book on just a whole overview on psychedelic therapy and psychedelics as a whole. So the interesting thing, a lot of people associate psychedelics with, I call it big T trauma. So something dramatic or traumatic has happened to me. Whereas is the little T trauma people that can do psychedelics have a lot of benefit as well. So Michael Pollan coined the term the betterment of well people. So I think that's the thing we see is at the clinic, especially right now, we're seeing a lot more working professionals, entrepreneurs, and executives who are high performers, but they struggle with burnout and stress.
Mhm.
Psychedelics can actually be amazing tools to help manage and treat that too. So that's really where that term betterment of well people comes from is, this isn't reserved for the more severe trauma cases, but the average person with the right support and education and creating a good environment where they can actually travel into that inner world can create a lot of benefit. And I think once we heal one person, it has that ripple effect in the community too of how they're interacting with their friends and their family, and then their community as a whole. So, you heal one person, you start to heal a community.
So are you saying that you could also try and treat stress with these treatments? Oh, that would
100%
be
Carmen. So
amazing.
I think that's really where the industry is going. You asked about my role, and that's almost the thing for me is, where is this industry going in 5 or 10 years? So, a lot of the time it is for, that indication of treatment resistant depression, but really because of the growth in biohacking in the wellness industry, I think everyone was looking at, performance optimization and just how can I be a happier, healthier human? And what are those tools or treatments available to me? So I really think, yeah, in the next kind of 5 years, you'll see a lot more of this in that kind of wellness market too.
Yeah. And you know what? Sometimes you are super stressed, super like overwhelmed. And yeah, I can see how it can help definitely. Oh, that's amazing.
100%. I always say it's like a little reset button for the brain.
Yeah, I can't wait for you to bring it here. Yeah. Hurry up.
I
Fast forward two
appreciate
2 years, I guess.
it.
Okay, so we are getting to the end of our podcast, but let's make you one question just for fun. If there was a magic button that you could push and then you could fix anything on the world peace, whatever, what would that be?
Ooh, that is a great question. Um, yeah, so I think so. Eckhart Tolle has this quote, watch your thoughts, feel your emotions, observe the reaction. So I think that's the thing, is giving everyone in the world that ability, because I think especially in 2025, there's so much turmoil in the world with social media, wars, the left and right. So I think giving everyone that ability to, yeah, watch their thoughts, feel their emotions, and observe their reaction is how we can start to create that space and peace within ourselves. And then once we have that space and peace within ourselves, it gives us a much better ability to relate and understand someone's point of view. And yeah, how we can come together at the table and discuss these things as adults and human beings. Yeah, and work towards collaborative solutions.
Hmm, that's good. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I would think more of myself. I would say retire today and travel the world.
I love it. Yeah, I wanted to be a little more philosophical than that, but that's definitely up on the list for sure. Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you very much for joining us. And I'm sure the audience is going to love this show. And thanks again.
My pleasure, Carmen. Thank you very much for your time.
Bye bye.